Hey, Peter.
Hey.
Happy Monday.
Hey, man. Happy Monday.
Hump day.
Hump. Come on now. So you're trying to trick me. Is it, though?
No, man, it's Wednesday.
Oh, okay, that's right.
I'm Adam Maness.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Daily jazz advice coming at you.
Coming at you, today's episode is sponsored by the Oxford American. The Oxford American is a magazine dedicated to documenting the complexity and vitality of the American South. Its award-winning annual music issue comes with a CD sampler and digital download. It's a must-have for any serious music fan. Recent issues have featured Nina Simone, Thelonious Monk, John Cage, and John Coltrane. Visit oxfordamerican.org/YHI. That stands for You'll Hear It.
Yes.
And we have some good offers there for folks.
Some awesome offers. I mean, I'm just looking at this. This is their 20th annual music. I mean, all their issues are great. It's quarterly, but I always love the music issue. I didn't realize
we're going to get
20
into
of them
that
now.
Later in the week for sure.
This is so good. At home, we have this next to books. Like, this isn't the kind of magazine you read and then it's like old news and you toss it into the recycling. And not that I'm anti-recycling. I'm very pro-recycling. But you don't, like this, you can kind of savor it like a book, which is nice.
It's great.
Yep.
It's really, really good. Today we're talking about our 7 favorite jazz compositions.
Yeah. Now, I felt like, okay, full disclosure, you came up with this concept. I mean, we both come up with ideas, but a lot of times.
Sorry, are you throwing shade on my concept?
I'm not throwing shade. No, it's a great thing. I mean, we accepted it into the pantheon of episodes, but I felt like it was a little bit limiting. So we may extend it a little bit, right?
You feel like the art of jazz composition is limiting?
Well, you're going to see as we go through here, there's some obvious omissions. That's why I said full disclosure. I want to put it out there that before we get, shade thrown on us from our beautiful listeners when they put up their umbrellas with shade on top of us because we're like, why didn't you mention such and such?
Oh, well, whatever we do is going to get some kind of shade for whatever list of 7
no, but
we
if we
throw
did
on.
77, we could pretty much cover all the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm already thinking of some big holes in even in eras. But that's what we didn't say the 7 greatest jazz compositions.
Well, way to start out the episode with a little bit of a downer.
It's Monday. It's Monday.
All right, well, let's get into it. Our number 1, this comes from the king of jazz composition, the originator of a lot of techniques that jazz composers still use. That's the great
Jelly Roll.
Duke Ellington.
Oh, Duke Ellington, right. I thought you said the originator, the greatest, the original.
So I had another Duke composition on here, but I switched it to this one because I think this one is deeper. And this is also in an era where I think he really started to develop. He came out of the gate, amazing. But this is when it got next level. This is East St. Louis Toodle-Oo. It's from a very, very long time ago, very early in the recording, technology.
Yeah.
And people still play this tune.
Yeah.
I mean, Steely Dan recorded it in the 70s.
Yeah. No, it's a great composition. And even with the limited technology of the recording, you can hear like the dynamics. I mean, of course, the orchestra was great. He always had great players and he wrote for them great. But this is one of those compositions that, to me, a great jazz composition. It's a vehicle for improvisation, of course, and right into that you've got the space for that on the trumpet, great trumpet solo. But it's also like a memorable melodically, first and foremost, certainly rhythmically, harmonically. But it's just like any other kind of great song. It's a great composition. It's not just a vehicle. Although there are some great compositions. There's a couple that didn't make our list but could have easily, that actually have no melody, and then the melody that that the improviser puts on it, but they're so strong structurally, harmonically, that they're a vehicle for great melodies. But really, when we talk about art, I think when we were talking about different compositions, and we had to whittle it down, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Even within Duke Ellington world.
The thing that strikes me about this, and as I look down our list, as we go through these, I think a common theme that's going to come up is the melody is swinging.
Yeah.
The ba-da-ba-ba.
Yeah.
Even when the tune isn't, a straight swing rhythm, the melodies here in all these great jazz compositions are swinging.
Well, in East St. Louis Toodle-Oo, there's a bunch of phrases starting with that main first melody that have become such a big part of the jazz vernacular.
The
and
language.
Popular,
I mean, think about
popular music vernacular.
the second theme. Like that is like something
It's
you or I
literally-
would play today.
Yeah, it's literally. Oh, thank you. No, it's literally like the vocabulary of our music, which is wonderful.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right,
And it's great.
What do you got for number 2?
Number 2, now this is Lush Life by Billy Strayhorn. And this is really, I think this is probably my favorite song, favorite jazz composition. I don't know if that's any different. In my mind, it's not really. It's obviously, it's a great jazz piece, but it's also a standard. I would say it's a standard in the Great American Songbook, whatever the hell that is.
It's a little bit of both there. I mean,
It
we were
is.
kind of talking about what constitutes, the difference between a jazz composition and an American songbook.
Yeah.
I think this walks the line because Billy Strayhorn was a jazz composer.
Yes.
But this has obviously the lyrics and the lyrical nature of an American songbook.
Yeah, and I believe he wrote the lyrics and the music and everything himself.
when he was, what,
16 or
16?
something. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
But I mean, he's certainly so. Billy Strayhorn was an amazing jazz composer, obviously, but he was also an incredible songwriter. And so on different compositions of his, you have the intersection in different ways. But to me, Lush Life is like, it's really just my favorite song ever written. I mean, I love the melody, I love the words, I love various versions of it. I love playing it. I think it's the kind of tune. I mean, you talk about not chasing around after a tune and just letting it come to you you just play this bad boy and good things are going to happen.
I've never put it into my regular repertoire, and I really should, just to get in there and experience it regularly because it's so beautiful. Let's check out John Coltrane and Johnny Hartman's version. One of my favorite versions.
I used to visit all the very gay places, those come what may places, where one relaxes on the axis of the wheel of life.
Man.
Poetry.
To get the feel of life from jazz and cocktails. The girls I knew had sad and sullen gray faces with distant K traces that used to be there. You could see where they'd been washed away by too many through the day.
Man, how does a 16-year-old come up with that kind
I
of
know.
raw,
That
emotional
depth of-
honesty, the
Yeah.
emotional depth? Yeah.
Depth of storytelling too. Big shout out to McCoy Tyner. That's some of my favorite piano accompaniment of vocal. It's so different than I mean it's so McCoy, but it's so different than what he normally plays and fits so well, but still
Right.
has all the stylistic implications of his
McCoy, yeah.
Of McCoy.
And this recording too is such a great combination of song, voice, band. I
Yeah.
mean, everything just ticks the boxes. I mean, the whole album's great, but I think this is the standout. on
When
the
Elvin Jones comes in with I mean, that's like the brush. I mean, it's such a big part of the storytelling of this version. I can just, even though we didn't get that far, I encourage everybody to. I'm sure many of you have heard this, but you might want to go back and reinvest some time because. It's,
Well, check the description. We'll leave a link to this Spotify playlist that we have here of this list, so you can hear for yourself.
Yep.
Next, number 3, we have. We had to have something by Monk.
Yeah.
And this is a tune that I'm playing a lot recently. This is "Ruby, My Dear."
Yep.
Again, John Coltrane and Monk version. What's so great about this composition is how specific, obviously, Monk is with it. Like that melody, it's the same shape, but he obviously is very strict with the rhythm, depending on the time that it happens. Because different recordings, it happens similarly every time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's placed.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think that. You think, oh, maybe that's just how Train is phrasing it. But I don't think so.
No, and I think that, Monk is, especially with his ballads, is similar to Billy Strayhorn in that his compositions, they really border on what you would think of as standards songs, although Monk was not. I mean, there's been some great lyrics written later of his tunes. I don't believe he was big on writing lyrics, so that part wasn't there until there's been some wonderful lyrics put to this and some other ones. But they're really like often written in this sort of standard AABA, Great American Songbook form or whatever. But I think that, melodically and harmonically and in terms of the form, they're just so beautiful and so well structured. Just from that. And then they've got a lot of the more complex kind of jazz interpinnings, but they don't get in the way like a lot of jazz composers they lose that beautiful simplicity. I mean, Monk had that ability, like Billy Strayhorn, to write incredible melodies, in a way that a lot of times, we don't always associate with jazz composers.
Yeah, really, really amazing. I love all the little hits in this arrangement that's part of the composition. Yeah. Because as you said, it's not like it's just like hits for hits' sake. It's just part of the composition.
Structural.
All right, number 4, what you got?
Number 4, we have A Night in Tunisia by Dizzy Gillespie.
Oh, yeah.
And this is, I've always loved playing this tune. I love hearing it. It always sort of takes me to that period of jazz. I mean, I guess it's bebop, but it's also kind of the not necessarily the beginnings, because we had a lot of this with Duke Ellington and a lot of the New Orleans musicians, and it's always been a part of the jazz music is the intersection of different cultures and different styles of music from the Caribbean, from Africa, from Europe, and obviously New Orleans. But it's like A Night in Tunisia is, one of the early songs that was really spread around the world and played a lot by a lot of other musicians beyond Dizzy and Charles Mingus and Charlie Parker on those early recordings, that brings in the Afro-Cuban elements, and then still within that kind of AABA form with that extended little segue thing.
Yeah.
It's just really fun to play. I love hearing it. I remember hearing Dizzy when I was like 14, 15 years old play it live.
Yeah.
That was like a transformational thing. And
that arrangement with the big band was so good.
Yeah. I mean, it's just... Yeah, it's great.
Let's check out the one of the first versions. So swinging. That's from the genius of Charlie Parker. Again, all of these are available in the description here. We'll leave a link for the Spotify playlist with all of these tunes.
And I always think about A Night in Tunisia. I mean, I might be projecting a little bit. I don't know how historic.
Oh, you are.
Okay. Thank you. No, I always think of it as kind of the beginning of, or an example of the beginning of so-called world music, what we ended up calling world music,
right?
And fusion music and stuff like that, where you're taking in, like Dizzy was great about taking in, different grooves and being very open to that and putting them, even the way this tune is, that groove, and then and then going into the swing and the juxtaposition of it.
Totally.
You like that? I was like swing set.
Yeah.
I was all at the playground on that one.
It certainly helped it be introduced to jazz audiences, and specifically bebop audiences. I think that influence for sure.
Cool. What do we got for number 5, my friend?
Number 5, we have the great Joe Henderson. This is Inner Urge. Yeah. Man, I love that tune so much.
Yeah.
That's just one of my favorite all-time tunes to listen to play. I think it's brilliant.
Yep.
In every way.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I mean, the way that's recorded is just so, it puts you right in that era. Joe Henderson, I mean, he had a very long career, but that puts you right in that particular time period, the Impulse Records, and great sound. Number 6. So this is Kenny Kirkland's Before It's Time to Say Goodbye.
Let's check it out. And that's beautiful.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, very beautiful, mournful tune, but I think it incredible, just beautiful melody, so simple, and it kind of brings together some interesting elements, almost like a New Orleans dirge, march. It's in 3, and then I love the way it's recorded. It's so open. People always think of Kenny Kirkland as being a very busy player, which he was at times. But much as the great Oscar Peterson and other great jazz pianists, at times he was such an incredible master of the instrument that he could just play.
Yeah.
Like very simple. Like he just, like the phrases we just heard, which left room for something that I think jazz is so great at doing with compositions, which is having a great drummer be a part of the composition.
Totally.
So what you just heard Jeff Watts doing there, big shout out to Jeff Tane Watts, with that little brushwork and stuff, is like part of the composition. So it's not there every time. And obviously, if you don't have Jeff Watts, it's going to be different. But much as when we listen to the John Coltrane, Johnny Hartman, Lush Life version, we didn't get to when Elvin Jones come in. But I mean, the brush has become such a part of the composition. And I think when we talk about our 7 favorite jazz compositions, it's so much tied to these recordings. And then what's great is you hear it live, it's a little different. The composition's still there, but it's about the performance of the composition.
This is from Kenny Garrett's Songbook album.
Yes.
We should say that recording is, anyway.
Which is not Kenny G's Songbird. That's another great album. Songbook, Songbird, both saxophones. I just want to be clear on that. And both named Kenny. First name Kenny.
Yeah, I'm surprised by the time this night is over, it didn't make our list here, but it didn't.
Well, yeah. Well.
So for number 7, this is from 2004. This is Avishai Cohen, the bassist.
Bassist, right.
Really incredible composer, and this is Remembering. I forget what album this is from. I have it here from a soundtrack. A lot of his stuff is not on Spotify for some reason, but this is Remembering. So many good moments in his compositions.
I just was trying to think. I'm like, this is such a highly subjective list. We just want to reiterate that. These are all great compositions, but I was looking for something. I mean, look, because we left out a lot of songs that we even love.
We left out John Coltrane off the entire list, which is obviously, and Herbie, which are two of our favorite composers, obviously. I was just thinking of things I'm in the mood for right now.
But that's so important that I think what we did capture here, we both, picked about half of these, so it's somewhat random, but I think the thing that pulls these all together is that we love listening to these. We love these songs. We love to play them. We love to listen to them. We love the original, a specific recording, whatever. Yeah. And I would just encourage everybody. There's so much great stuff out there. The wealth and depth of this music compositionally is so amazing. And I think one thing that did kind of strike me, maybe connects all these compositions, is the use of space. And this is something that we see in all styles of composition. And for you composers out there and improvisers, don't be afraid to use space. We heard that great in that last, in Remembering. Lush Life has some great spaces harmonically and actually structurally within the melody. Mm-hmm. Where you put that space is always a hallmark, I think, of great compositions. Can we do a bonus?
I'm doing a bonus, but I'm calling an audible.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Boom.
One of my favorite modern compositions
Yes.
was composed by the man sitting across the table from me right
come
now.
on. I don't think that's...
I liked it so much that when I first started this podcast, I used it as its theme. We're going to go out. This is Peter Martin's Emotion in Motion.
You'll hear it.
What?